The clock showed 10:30 p.m. when I finally finished organizing the papers in the teacher's lounge. As a senior year monitor, I often stayed late at school, helping with administrative tasks. But on that Friday night, something seemed different. The silence was deeper, the shadows longer. My name is Miguel. I'm 18 years old, and I've been studying at Santa Cruz School for as long as I can remember. I know every corner of this place like the back of my hand. Or at least, that's what I thought until that night. As I walked through the dark corridors towards the exit, a shiver ran down my spine. I had the strange feeling that I wasn't alone. The echo of my footsteps reverberated off the walls, creating a ghostly symphony. The lights flickered erratically, as if fighting against an invisible force. I swallowed hard, trying to convince myself that it was just my vivid imagination playing tricks on me. After all, what could be scary about a school I knew so well? Little did I know that I was about to discover that Santa Cruz High School held secrets far darker than I could ever imagine, and that night would change my life. As I approached the main staircase, a sudden noise made me freeze. It was like the dragging of desks coming from the floor above. Impossible, I thought. I was the only one here. Or was I? With my heart racing, I decided to investigate. Climbing the stairs slowly, each step echoed like a gunshot in the sepulchral silence. The second floor corridor was plunged into darkness, except for a faint light coming from room 23, the old science room. I approached cautiously, my eyes struggling to adapt to the gloom. The door was ajar, and a strange, pungent odor emanated from inside. My hand trembled as I pushed it, revealing a scene that made my blood run cold. All the desks were piled up in the center of the room, forming a kind of macabre altar. At the top, something glowed faintly. As I approached, I realized it was an old pocket watch. Its silver surface reflected the moonlight coming through the window, creating hypnotic patterns on the walls. Fascinated and horrified at the same time, I reached out to touch the object. The moment my fingers brushed the cold metal, a sharp buzz filled my ears. The room began to spin, and I felt as if I was being pulled into the watch. When I opened my eyes again, the world around me had changed. The walls of the room were covered with strange symbols, written with a substance that looked like dried blood. The smell of decay was almost unbearable, and then I saw it. A hooded figure standing in the corner of the room, motionless as a statue. My heart raced, and I instinctively stepped back. The figure slowly turned its head in my direction, revealing not a face, but a deep black void under the hood. A scream got stuck in my throat as the creature began to move towards me. My body went into survival mode. I spun on my heels and ran out of the room, my heart pounding against my ribs. The corridor seemed endless, shadows dancing on the walls as if they were alive. Behind me, I heard a chilling sound, something between a whisper and a moan, echoing through the empty corridors. I ran down the stairs 3 steps at a time, almost tripping in my desperate rush. When I reached the ground floor, I ran towards the main exit, but my blood froze when I realized the doors were locked. Impossible. I had the key with me. Frantic, I searched my pockets. Key had disappeared. Panic threatened to overwhelm me, but I knew I couldn't afford to collapse. Not with that thing chasing me. I decided to hide in the library. It was a place big enough to get lost among the shelves and maybe find another way out. As I ran through the dark corridors, I noticed that the walls seemed different. The familiar murals and posters had been replaced by ancient tapestries depicting grotesque scenes of rituals and sacrifices. I entered the library breathless, silently closing the door behind me. The smell of old books, normally comforting, now seemed suffocating. The shadows between the shelves seemed to move on their own, and I could swear I heard whispers coming from the dark corners. Moving as quietly as possible, I began to explore the library in search of an exit. It was then that I noticed something strange. All the books looked identical. Black covers with no title, yellowed pages. Pulled one at random and opened it. My stomach churned. Pages were covered with the same strange symbols I saw in the science room, and as I looked, the letters seemed to move, writhing like worms in decay. I dropped the book, feeling nauseous. A sudden noise made me spin around. At the other end of the library, between 2 shelves, I saw the hooded figure again. Didn't move, just observed. The void under the hood seemed to suck me in, and I felt intense vertigo. I retreated, my mind screaming to run, my body paralyzed with fear. It was then that I bumped into something. Turning slowly, I found myself face to face with an ancient mirror that I had never noticed before. My reflection stared back at me, pale and terrified, but something was wrong. As I looked, my reflection began to change. My skin turned gray, my eyes sank to dark socket, and then, to my absolute horror, my reflection smiled, a wide, inhuman smile that extended beyond the natural limits of the face. I screamed, stumbling backward. My reflection extended its hand, as if wanting to come out of the mirror, and that's when I realized it was no longer a reflection, it was something else, something that was using my form. The creature in the mirror began to press against the glass, which seemed to deform as if it were liquid. Long, bony fingers began to emerge, followed by a skeletal arm. Panic took over. I ran towards the library exit, but the door had disappeared, replaced by a smooth wall. Cornered, I turned to face the horror emerging from the mirror. Creature was now almost completely out, its body a distorted, cadaverous version of mine, its eyes, empty black holes, fixed on me. And then it spoke, with a voice that was and wasn't mine. "Welcome back, Miguel. We've missed you." My mind collapsed at those words. Back? What did that mean? Memories began to flood my consciousness. Memories that couldn't be mine. From a time long before my birth, the memories came like a whirlwind, fragmented and confused. I saw myself in clothes from other eras, walking through the same corridors of Santa Cruz High School. I saw secret rituals performed in the catacombs beneath the school, heard chants in long-forgotten languages, and in each vision, there I was, older, younger, always different, undeniably me. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I had been here before, many times, in many lives. The creature that emerged from the mirror, my distorted reflection, approached. Its voice was like nails dragging across a chalkboard. "You always come back, Miguel. Always forget, always remember, to the cycle." I pressed myself against the wall, desperate for escape. "What do you want from me?" I screamed, my voice breaking with terror. The being smiled again, that horribly wide smile. "We want you to remember, to complete the cycle, to free us." At that moment, the pocket watch I had touched in the science room materialized in the air between us, floated, slowly spinning, ticking, echoing in the silent library. "Time is an illusion here," Beecher continued. "This place exists outside the normal flow, a bubble of reality created by the ritual that we, performed centuries ago." Memories continued to flood my mind. I saw myself, hundreds of years ago, as a young student of the occult, discovering forbidden secrets in the school's basement. I saw myself performing a ritual to bend time and space, seeking eternal power and knowledge. But something went wrong. The ritual trapped not only me, but the entire school in a time loop. Students, teachers, staff, all trapped in an eternal cycle of forgetting and remembering. Each time the cycle repeats, my distorted reflection explained, "You are reborn, grow up, and eventually find your way back here. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades, but you always come back." I looked at my hands, seeing them age and rejuvenate rapidly. The reality around me began to oscillate, like heat waves on asphalt. "And what happens now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The creature extended its hand, offering the watch. "Now you have a choice. You can accept the truth, break the cycle, and free us all. Or you can forget again, and the cycle will continue." My hand trembled as it approached the watch. Part of me wanted to run away, to deny all of this, but another part knew it was true. I could feel the weight of countless lives lived and forgotten. The moment my fingers touched the cold metal of the watch, an explosion of light filled the library. I felt myself being pulled in all directions, my consciousness expanding to encompass centuries of existence. I saw faces, hundreds, thousands of them. Students, teachers, people I had known in countless lives. All trapped, all waiting, and I was the key to their liberation. With a scream that seemed to come from 1,000 throats, I grabbed the watch and smashed it against the floor. The glass shattered, and a wave of energy spread like a tsunami. The walls of the library began to crumble, revealing a cosmic void beyond. I heard screams of joy, of fear, of liberation. I saw bodies dissolving into light, souls finally free after centuries of imprisonment. My own body began to disintegrate, but I felt fear. For the first time in countless lives, I felt peace. As the reality around me collapsed, I had one last vision. Santa Cruz High School, not as the temporal prison it had become, but as it originally was. A place of learning, of friendship, of possibilities, and then everything went white. I opened my eyes, gasping and disoriented. I found myself sitting in the chair in the teacher's lounge. The papers I had been organizing scattered on the floor around me. Clock on the wall showed 10:31 p.m. For a moment, I was paralyzed, my mind struggling to process what had happened. Had it all been a dream? Hallucination caused by fatigue? I stood up trembling, my legs barely supporting me. Cold sweat trickled down my back as I walked hesitantly to the door. The corridor was silent and dark, exactly as it should be. No sign of the horrors I had witnessed. I descended the stairs slowly, each step echoing in the silence. Everything seemed normal, familiar. The murals on the walls, the trophies in the display cases, even the characteristic smell of chalk and old books. When I reached the ground floor, I stopped in front of the mural of old school photos. My eyes scanned the black and white images of past classes, long-deceased principals, forgotten events, and then my heart stopped. There, in a yellowed photo dated 1923, was me. There was no doubt it was my face, my eyes, my shy smile. The caption read, Miguel Azevedo, head monitor. I staggered backward, my mind spinning. It wasn't possible. And yet, memories began to surface. Not the intense, terrifying visions from before, but soft, almost nostalgic recollections. Me in different eras, always at this school, always 18 years old, always as a monitor. I realized then that the cycle hadn't been completely broken. Somehow, I was still trapped, reliving my school life repeatedly. But now I remembered, and with remembrance came a choice. I walked to the main exit, my hand trembling as I reached for the doorknob. I knew that if I opened that door and left, I would forget everything again. I would go back to being just Miguel, 18-year-old student, unaware of the time loop I was trapped in. But if I stayed, I turned, looking down the long corridor that led to the depths of the school, to the classrooms, the library, and beyond, to the hidden secrets I had discovered and forgotten so many times. This time, I could do things differently. I could find a way to break the cycle permanently, to free not just myself, but everyone else trapped in this temporal limbo. With a deep sigh, I took a step away from the door. My decision was made. As I walked back into the school's interior, the lights flickered momentarily. For an instant, I saw the walls covered with those strange symbols, heard the whispers of trapped souls, but I felt no fear. This time, I would face the horrors of Santa Cruz High School with open eyes. The clock on the wall struck midnight, its chimes echoing through the empty corridors. A new cycle was beginning, but this time, it would be different. I remembered, and that changed everything. As I ventured deeper into the school, the shadows seemed to lengthen. As if welcoming me, the air grew thicker, heavy with secrets and possibilities. Somewhere in the depths of the building, I heard the distant sound of a pocket watch ticking. It was a constant reminder of my mission, the time I needed to bend and unravel. With each step, I felt the weight of countless lives lived and forgotten, but I also felt a growing determination. This time, I would break the cycle. This time, I would free us all. And as I walked towards the unknown, a single certainty echoed in my mind. The real terror wasn't in what I might find in the shadows of Santa Cruz High School. The real terror was in forgetting again.